Today I just want us to talk about digital parenting. I've been having quite a number of questions of parents who actually inquire from me, how best can we train our children? How best can we restrict their usage? How can we help them? How can we be of value as they are on these platforms to ensure that they're actually not getting spoiled? Some have recommended tools and solutions to just help and restrict and also monitor their devices. But I felt that I needed to just do a simple video about digital parenting, whether AI is a threat to our day and age, whether social media is a big challenge that needs to be banned or restricted to our teenagers, but to just draw a backdrop on where to build from. I want to go back. I'm trying to present my screen, hope you can see it. I want to go back by just giving an overview of the economic eras. The historical context of our current day and age is very relevant to help us know and discern what to do best. And throughout human history, you'll agree with me when I say that wealth and survival were determined by understanding and adapting to the dominant economic era. Each era required different skills, it required different resources, and today we stand at quite a very critical juncture where the rules have shifted fundamentally and they have changed. So we need, as parents, to know how best to train and prepare our children. The question is, are you and I preparing our children for the world that is or for the world that was? Let me give you a quick drop. I know some of us are very familiar and know how we have shifted and how the human race has actually come to evolve. In the early pre-10,000 BC, we had what we call the hunter-gatherer economy. Those who hunted and were able to gather food, secure food, water, and shelter, and acquired or developed distinctive survival instincts, those actually controlled wealth. Those were actually people who are richer in their day and age. From the hunter-gatherer economy, in the early 1700s, we had what we call the agricultural economic era, or the agricultural age, where the landlords, those who owned land, actually controlled wealth. There was a shift in farming. This created new power structure. Those who owned land controlled food production. Wealth followed ownership, not just labor. Landlords, kings, and large-scale farmers dominated this era. So from the 1700s to the 1800s, we had what we call the trade and mercantile economy, or the distribution era. And the primary resource here was trade routes and distribution. This was the distribution era. Those who actually were able to, those who controlled shipping routes and traded commodities, those actually were wealthy because they had mastered the art of networks and distribution. Those people dominated their age. So from the 1800s to the 1970s, in the 19th century, we had what we call the industrial age, the industrial economy. Now it was no longer about land ownership, but it was more or less who actually owned the machine. Because they wanted to increase productivity, now machines could do much more than what man could do with their muscles. So it was more of machines. Whoever owned the machines owned wealth, controlled wealth. So we come to, from the 1970s to around 2005, we entered another era, which was the information economy. The primary resource here was information, it was knowledge. And whoever controlled knowledge and information actually owned wealth and created wealth. We had companies like software companies that developed computers, databases, changed everything. Those who controlled information infrastructure like the IBM, the Microsoft, Oracle, those companies amassed quite a great deal of wealth and they dominated the financial markets. Those financial markets back then became data-driven. Knowledge, work became the new currency. What you could do with your brain and the machine was more of actually what made you money by then. So from 2005 to 2020, that is almost post-COVID, we had what we call the digital and internet economy. The primary resource here was attention. It was data, it was platforms, social media platforms, digital platforms. The internet democratized, that word, it democratized access. Whoever had access to internet had access to almost everything. Social media platforms, e-commerce, content creators, these defined the new wealth generators. We had people like Jeff Bezos that sprouted off this edge, Mark Zuckerberg, YouTubers, name them, quite a number of them. These guys became wealthy because they had mastered the economic era. From 2020 to where we are in what we call the AI creator-operate economy. The primary source here is attention, it is intellectual property, and it is leveraging AI-powered tools. If you and I can master this, you realize that AI amplifies our capability exponentially. We have now the sprout of personal brands, automated systems, and intellectual property-driven wealth. So this is where we are in now. And the reason for us to understand and know these economic eras is very simple. Because if you and I are using industrial thinking in an AI age, we are becoming economically obsolete, irrelevant. This is what I call an economic dinosaur. Are you an economic dinosaur? If I just share with you my second screen. Economic dinosaurs, these are people or anyone who is fully equipped for a world that no longer exists. A person whose mindset is anchored in a past economic era, while the economy has moved into a new one. What are the 4 characteristics of economic dinosaurs? You're operating with an old mindset. You're using the industrial age thinking in a digital age world. This is on, okay? You're making decisions based on scarcity when the economy runs on abundance and speed. You're believing that physical presence equals productivity in an era of automation. Physical presence does not equal to productivity. You are unable to create value today. If you are unable to create value today, you're an economic dinosaur. Your skills have become outdated. Your systems are slow and inefficient. Your thinking is rigid. Influence is decreasing. And the other thing is that you're resisting change. You're resisting transformation. If you fear new tools and platforms, you might be an economic dinosaur. You're rejecting new business models. Performance for routine over innovation. You're struggling to adapt to a digital first realities. And there's what we call FOMO, fear of missing out. You cannot see emerging patterns. You're missing new opportunities, other words. Sorry, not fear of missing out. You're missing new opportunities. You cannot see emerging patterns. You fail to understand digital presence, and you cannot use data-driven decisions. So I'm sharing all this to let you know that if you have understood the backdrop that we have been in, you realize that the current era that we are in, the current dispensation, the current economic era that we are in is a battle for our children's mind. And that is why it is very relevant for us as parents to understand these economic eras. Because the current reality is that in the AI creator economy, the most valuable resource is attention. Technological companies have discovered that capturing and monetizing human attention is more profitable than any previous resource in history. Our children are the primary target. What's at stake? Quickly, cognitive development. The adolescent brain is still forming. Attention patterns are being established, and now they become lifelong patterns. So cognitive development is at stake. Economic competitiveness is at stake. Our children are being trained to be consumers with the current economy. They are consumers of content rather than creators of value. And if we don't teach them how to create value, they are going to struggle. Just to pause right there a little bit, I have an invitation to some parents that are watching, and you're following me closely with this presentation. I have purposed as a digital strategist to see how to create value, especially in my generation. How to empower our young children and cause them to be purpose-driven, and cause them to be on the production chain of things, not to just be consumers and addicted to content without necessarily creating value and leveraging actually the current wave of economic era, the current wave of AI and automation, to be able to make something out of their lives, to use it for learning, for growth, for skill acquisition, but also for value addition and creation. Now, I teach a masterclass. I've actually compiled a book that I've called The Digital Gold Mine. If you go on my website, www.tomagoro.com, you can sign up for a free copy. I'll give you this book free of charge. You can sign up for a free copy. But if you need a physical copy, you can write to me, email to me, support@tomagoro.com, and we can get in touch. I've also produced quite a number of other tools. This is from pews to pixels. Digital solutions for the Great Commission. If you're a pastor out there, if you're a leader out there, if you're running a charity organization, if you want to be impactful in this current era, if you want to stop thinking with an industrial age mindset, if you want to stop being an economic dinosaur and see how you can utilize and leverage the current technologies to advance your brand, to advance your mission, to advance your business idea, these resources, I highly recommend them to you. Or you can sign up for one of my training programs where I can actually walk a journey with you and we can create and build something together. When you sign up for my masterclass on either, I have what we call the Digital Gold Mine Masterclass. If you sign up for that masterclass, at the end of it all, I can actually be able to give you access to quite a number of tools for you to utilize for your brand, for your business, whatever that you're trying to build, and we can actually build something for you if you sign up for that class. Enough of that. But that is our current reality. There is a lot of economic competition, and if we are not training our children, that's why I talked about these resources, because if we are not training our children, then they are at a verge of being irrelevant, and we don't want that to happen to them. But also what is at stake is spiritual formation. If they are spending a lot of hours on platforms like social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, name it, Threads, Pinterest, name it, if we are spending hours watching videos, listening to funny jokes, and some of them even become quite addicted to certain things that are not spiritually or even intellectually building their brains, then that's a problem. Because if it sticks in, if they are hooked in their early ages, then it is hard for you actually to get rid of that. And the other thing that is at stake is our relational health. We are no longer relating to our children. Even our children are no longer relating to us, because you go home, everyone is on the phones, the eyes are fixed. That needs to change. And I hope this will be an eye-opener for you. I'm addressing the subject of how do we train our children in the digital age. Sorry, I'm trying to speak very fast because I don't want this video to be very big or very large. I want it to be precise but also very helpful. Now, if you want access to this information or to this material or to this presentation, just comment in the video below in the comment section. Comment presentation or resource. I'll share with you the document. You can also go to or write me an email at support@tomagoro.com. Share with me your email address and your contact details. I'll be able to share this with you. But you should also understand the industrial strategy. These platforms are being designed for addiction. The applications are being engineered by neuroscientists to trigger dopamine response, just like the drugs. I was listening to Dr. Simon Chizito. I was in an event, we are launching Corner Group, and we are talking about workplace focus. He mentioned a very powerful point that research has it. They call it digital cocaine. It triggers the same response just as the physical cocaine. And this is quite an issue. We need to be mindful and watch out. Quite other things like infinite scroll, social violations, FOMO, engineering, fear of missing out. That's what I was talking about earlier, where users are constantly checking because they don't want to miss out. So as parents, we cannot prepare our children for tomorrow using yesterday's parenting tools. If we parent from industrial age thinking, we are training them from a world that no longer exists while they are being shaped by forces we cannot fully understand. We all know these statistics. 70% of our population is under the age of 25. Our teenagers spend 5 to 9 hours on screens. Smartphones are very increasingly accessible in Africa and in Uganda because China now has actually made these very cheap and accessible. There are risks and opportunities. In this document, I share about some of the opportunities, but I also talk about the risks. Some of the opportunities, the demographic dividend, young populations can actually drive innovation and economic growth if perfectly equipped. That's why we need to equip them. Leapfrogging, Africa can skip outdated systems and adopt cutting-edge technology. There are things like digital entrepreneurship. Some of these things I talk about in my masterclass. Knowledge access. The internet has provided education resources previously unavailable. Some of the risks include content consumption risks, where people can actually be addicted to these platforms and get exposed to pornographic materials that actually starts now to have moral decay in our young people. Educational gaps. Schools, this actually pains me. Schools are still teaching the industrial age skills, while the job market demands digital efficiency or fluency. So cultural erosion is a risk, mental health, and quite a number of other things. Let me run very fast. In understanding the adolescent brain, you should know that the prefrontal cortex development in our teenagers does not fully mature until 25, and this part of the brain is responsible for impulse control, decision making, and long-term planning. This explains why poor judgment in risk assessment is very prevalent in our teenagers. It makes them susceptible to addiction patterns. Another thing you should know about how their brain works: it is heightened by dopamine responses. I'll not go much into that. They have more of emotional responses than logical responses. I'll not go much into that, but you can request for the material. You will see quite a number of examples and explanations I've put there. Then there's what we call the neuroplasticity peak, which is actually critical. It's a critical period for brain wiring. Habits are being formed, and whatever is embedded stays and sticks. So you need to understand most of these things, because now if you know how our teenagers' brains works, then it equips you to actually know how to help them better. Running very fast. Some of the 4 categories of digital danger as per UNICEF and World Health Organization plus the American Academy of Pediatrics. Now these are some of the findings categorized into 4 dangers. I will not mention each per each, but the broad categories include psychological dangers, social dangers, physical dangers, academic dangers. Now if you want to get a detailed explanation, I hope you can see my screen, or you can request for these slides. I'll share them with you. I'll share a document with you, or you can just go to omagol.com/resources. I'll put this PowerPoint. I'll name it Parenting in the Digital Age, Parenting Teenagers in a Digital Age. Okay, so what doesn't work? Some of the common parenting mistakes we make include shouting and nagging, complete technological bans, confiscating phones without context, without explanation, without giving them a reason, without sitting them down and explaining to them why you're confiscating those phones. Ignoring the problem. All those things do not work. Now there are quite a number of do's and that parents sometimes do under those categories. I'll not go into them. If you want access to this material, comment in the comment section. I'll send it to you. And here is an example of what actually works. Evidence-based strategies. Set clear, reasonable digital boundaries. Create a family digital agreement. Sit down with these children, with these teenagers. Agree on certain things. If you want a template or a copy of how a family digital agreement looks like, comment or send me an email at support@omagoro.com. I'll share with you a draft. Now this actually, when you engage them in formulating these principles, these guidelines, not just rules per se, but guidelines, it gives them a sense of responsibility and accountability, and they will actually honor and be able to oblige. Replace, don't just restrict. If you can offer them alternatives, maybe sports, physical activities, creative hobbies like writing, teaching, or even better still, enroll them in my masterclass. Let me walk a journey with them, and that can actually replace some of their addictions. And then build trust through open conversations. Okay, we should understand, that's why I actually wrote this book. As I conclude, we should understand that digital is a gold mine. Because we are in an economic era where we are creators, where we are using AI to drive productivity, digital is a gold mine. understanding it and mastering it right now positions you or even your children at a better advantage to be better equipped and better aware of what to do, of the do's and don'ts of our current digital era. If you want a copy of this book, just go to omagoro.com/resources, sign up. I'll give you a free copy. I'll give you a free copy of this digital gold mine. In this book, you'll uncover your purpose and define your digital destiny. You learn how to build a personal or business brand that commands attention. You learn how to create magnetic content that attracts and converts. You learn how to grow communities that multiply your impact. You will learn how to monetize your message with integrity and sustainability, and how to future-proof your influence in an ever-changing digital world. Now, if you actually sign up for my Digital Gold Mine Masterclass, we can actually walk a journey together, go through some of these tools, equip you with some of the tools, and actually build certain tools for you, not limited to your website, not limited to social media platforms, and come up with a strategy for you that you can actually use to not only build your brand, but to grow your influence and thrive in the digital era. That's it for me. I don't want to make this any longer. My final take, just like the Bible tells us in the book of Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6, that train up a child in the way they should go, that when they grow up they will not depart from it. It is our responsibility as parents to disciple, not to dictate. We are supposed to be stewards of attention, and we should always point our children to the true source of attention, to the true source of identity, which is Christ. Let not these platforms define their identity. Likes, comments, whatever their peers are telling them online should not define their identity. And let us always tell them that these platforms can actually be modern pulpits where they get to share their faith, but also their skills and add value to those that are around them. So until next time, stay relevant. See you then. But if you have any questions, if you want to comment, use the comment section. Hope to hear from you. Otherwise, check out my website, www.omagoro.com, and let's see how we can partner and work together. See you.